And you don't have to use the AI. In fact, I think businesses that can rely on humans to answer the phones are going to outperform businesses that don't. However, businesses that don't have something answering the phones 24/7, including an AI, are not going to survive.
Expert in the house. Welcome to Right Media Group Chronicles. We hope you'll take away valuable insights while enjoying every moment of today's episode.
Welcome to today's episode. For those of you just joining the podcast, we are Vibe Media Group and specialize in helping marketing agencies scale their revenue. So if you want to learn how to take your agency business to the next level, make sure to stick around. And if you're interested in a free growth consultation, just drop us the word growth in the DMs. Excited to welcome Jake Hundley today, the founder of Evergrow Marketing. Jake, please introduce yourself to the audience.
Yeah, so my name is Jake Hundley. Like you said, I am the founder of Evergrow Marketing. We're a digital marketing company for our landscaping and lawn care businesses. And I think we started in 2019 officially. And then on top of that, my business partner and myself also are the co-host of the Agency Growth Podcast. So that's something that we do on the side.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's been cut out a little bit, but he does have a very brilliant logo right there on the back. I have to say, it stands out a lot.
Yeah, it's funny because I switch it around. I have an Evergrow
do?
Marketing one too. So it's actually in my closet behind me.
No,
And,
I see that.
Yeah, I was on a podcast for my actual agency the other day, and I just swapped them out. But I had them commissioned to where the holes for the screws are the exact same position, so I can just unscrew one and screw the other one into the wall.
Yeah. No, awesome. I love to see the other one glow sometimes as well. So tell us about how Evergrow Marketing started back in 2017.
Yeah, so in 2017, it kind of started as like a side project for me in order to pay down some debt. I kind of created the Evergrow Marketing name and was gonna just do some like Google Business Profile optimization stuff for a low amount of money just to pay off some debt. But then I started building the brand a bit more. I was pretty good at networking with landscaping and lawn care businesses, as that's the niche I chose. And then my partner, who I had worked with at a previous agency, was really good at actually doing marketing execution. So we decided to partner up, and then we officially relaunched in 2019 with no clients or anything like that, and started completely over.
Wow. Okay. So you didn't give up. You moved right back into it.
Yeah, yep. I mean, like the 2 years that I had like one or two clients throughout the 2 years, and that was it. But I kept on like the branding and just kind of building a presence in the industry. And then once my partner came on, it was kind of like a culmination of a lot of things happened. One, I became more confident in my sales, but then two, I had also been on recent podcasts in the industry. And also I wrote for a couple industry magazines, like lawn care business magazines. And right when he came on, within like 2 months, because he came on in January, so that's when we officially partnered together, like February and March, those podcast episodes and those magazine articles hit the market. And that is also like seasonally when landscaping and lawn care businesses start looking for marketing services because they're getting prepared for March, April, and May. So the timing of everything just kind of went together really well.
I can imagine that being like explosive growth if you're saying that's the season exactly when they're out there. And
Yeah, it was it was explosive growth for what it was considered at the time. For us, it wouldn't be explosive growth for us now. It would just be kind of like, normal, maybe a little bit slow. But when we were at $0 and we had our first year we did I think it was like 40,000 in revenue. It wasn't very much, especially between the two of us. We still had our full-time jobs. But I was just explaining on another podcast that our first year was like 40,000 in profit, and then the second year was 80,000, and then the third year was 160. So we like doubled.
always double. Yeah, no, that's great.
And so yeah, obviously the rush or like the spring rush for us is different now, but back then going from zero, it was a lot.
Of course, yeah. This is your first income, isn't it? That you're finally starting to make traffic. So yeah, it'll be a lot. But obviously, it's good that you're doubling your revenue every single year. So clearly, you're doing something right.
Mm-hmm.
So in regards to Evergrow, why exactly the landscaping industry?
There's like a lot of different reasons, and I can't really pinpoint it down to one. But I knew when I started an agency that there was no way that I was going to be able to rank on Google for SEO or marketing. It's just
Mm.
not. It's just too
Especially when
saturated for
starting
that.
out.
Yeah, so I was like, I need to pick a niche or like a specific industry and really stand out.
Hmm.
And so that was like the beginning of the niche thing. Why I picked landscaping and lawn care was because I was looking for a landscaper for this house I was at. And I don't remember why, but I noticed like all of the Google business profiles back then, it was called Google My Business. And you could see like if it had the link on it that said, "Do you own this business?" Back then, that was an indicator that they had not claimed their Google business profile. That has since changed, and that is no longer an indicator of that. But it was like every business was like that. I'm like, well, if I could just charge $200 just to claim it and optimize it for them, I could, 5 clients, I'll get $1,000, and that's a lot of money for me at the time. So, but then the other side of that too was that the agency that I had worked at previously, where I met my partner originally, it was an automotive marketing agency. So they had a niche in like car dealerships and things like that, and they were like a $20 million company. So they're a pretty big agency, but they had a division for agriculture. It was called the EQ division, and it was for equipment dealerships, like John Deere dealerships, New Holland, things like that. And within like a year, I became the account executive and sales manager of that division. So I was already kind of coming into it with kind of like a landscaping or green industry approach.
I see. So just connected the dots for you to just go with that.
Yep.
Awesome. So, what would you say is the biggest challenge in building a remote agency team?
It's probably going to be finding the right people. I
Talent.
think, yeah, I think the team is the hardest part for sure. And I think that's not even just remote. I think that's just literally anywhere. But you can make an argument that because we're remote, we can hire so much different talent. Whereas like if you're more of like a local business, you really can't because you're kind of confined to
Limited.
where yeah people are living around you. So we get questions all the time about like how do we find our team? Like, what's a good recruiting area or recruiting tool to use? And the truth is that we don't know. Like we really don't know. And when we pick our team, basically our entire team right now has existed from our existing network.
Mm. That's
And
probably a
so
good thing because you know them.
yeah, well, we actually didn't know them. We knew our network. So Eva was like our first hire on our team, and she's an SEO and website development. But she was going to school the same college that my business partner was going to, because my business partner went back to school in his late 20s, and she through a mutual connection, she was known. Lisette, who does ads, she is the sister of a classmate of my business partner. And then Angie, who's like more internal operations, she's actually connected to Lisette through another mutual connection that we have. So that's kind of like how we found a lot of our team. But what we will continue to do is we will continue to go to colleges and post on their job boards and hire college students. The main reason is because we very rarely hire full-time people like right out of the
Ooh.
gate. We usually hire part-time people, and then we train them to become marketers and become web developers. And then the things that we look for aren't necessarily experience. We look for intelligence and attention to detail and things like that. And usually those people are more, or like the people we need for part-time, they need more flexible schedules, and as a remote agency, we can provide that.
I see. It's actually crazy, like you touched point on it. I think the last 3, 4 discussions I've had with agency owners have all been like the biggest kind of challenge is talent acquisition and making sure obviously that people stay with you because end of the day like you I don't know if you face clients as well, so your team delivers and then sometimes you have to they tell you the dashboards or whatnot and then you've got to go to the client saying this is what has been achieved. So whether it's good or bad results, end of the day it's a reflection of the business, so if they don't deliver it reflects on you.
Yeah, we do. The way that we built our business is we built it to be as not involved with client communication as possible. So we have a very productized business model in which clients prepay for marketing services, and then we execute those services, and then they get an automated report at the end of the month or at the beginning of the next month. And aside from that, there really isn't any other communication that takes place. It's a very
Mhm.
transactional kind of
I
like
agree.
relationship on a month-to-month basis. But like we don't want to do weekly meetings. We don't want to do monthly scheduled meetings that are on the calendar. Some clients kind of wonder why we don't do that because a lot of other agencies will do that.
Yeah.
And they might just like randomly call me out of the blue or like text me and I'll respond. I'm like, look, if you enjoy being able to just call me, um, that is what you get when I don't have an entire schedule full of client meetings. And so I would rather have like the problem that a lot of agencies run into is that they end up having to hire people where their entire job is just meeting with clients instead of
Yeah.
actually doing work. So we built our agency to be extremely productized to where 80% of what we hire and what we do is actually doing marketing and not talking about marketing.
Okay, no, I see. That's a very interesting approach, I have to say. And we'll touch point into the productizing later on as well into more detail. But in regards to obviously not having that communication with your client, do you not think it's important to build that relationship?
No, I do, and we do build that relationship, but it's all about setting expectations. So,
Mm,
like, clients will email me, they'll text me, they'll call me, but there's nothing that we do that's scheduled. So, like,
okay.
a client can't say, "Hey, I want to meet on the 22nd of every month." I don't want to meet on the 22nd of every month. Like, you can call me, you can text me, you can ask me questions, but like this is also like a partnership, and part of that agreement between the partnership is me setting my boundaries and my team's boundaries and understanding how our business operates. So, we have very good client relationships, and part of that is we have a 90% month over month retention rate on our clients.
That's great.
And I say that too because it's like it's a little weird because year over year it's a 75% retention rate, but we have a seasonality in our industry, so it gets a little weird, and I can get into that later, but of why we calculate it in two different ways. But so the client relationship's there, but it's all about managing expectations of what clients can expect of you, because there are times where clients can cross boundaries or push the scope into what is excessive, and that no matter what agency you are, no matter what your model is, that needs to be communicated.
And in regards to obviously delivering the services for your clients, how do you manage like really understanding their kind of ICP? Because you obviously need to correlate making sure the copywriting and everything aligns with how you're gonna run the ads for the customer. So how do you ensure that communication is still there?
We really don't have to because we're focused only on one industry in landscaping and lawn care or the green
I
industry. So
see.
like we know the ICP. A client comes to me, they don't need to tell us anything. We tell them things. We tell them what their target
Yeah.
client is. 9 times out of 10, the target markets are always the same. It's always the exact same demographic. It's the exact same uh, 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 region or geographic regions, which is not in the cities, it's the suburbs. It's like all the targeting and all the keywords are generally the same across the entire country. So this is one benefit that you get when you productize things, is that you don't have to go through an initial discovery phase. That our entire business is the discovery. And you come to us and you ask us what you should do, and we will literally tell you what you should do and who your target client is.
In regards to your podcast, has it in any way helped your agency as well?
Not in the way that some people think. So, like, some people will think that we started our podcast or our podcast is some kind of like authority builder for us, which it really isn't. Our podcast is specifically for other agency owners to kind of partially learn from us, from the mistakes that we make, but also just from the advice that we give, but also just to follow our own growth journey. Because when we started the podcast, I think we were on pace for our very first 6-figure year ever, which was like $130,000 profit, and which isn't a lot. But so we realized that we were going to get some listeners that were bigger than us. And then we kind of said, well, like also, well, if you just want to follow our growth journey along, go ahead and do that. And then we've grown, 5 times that since then. But the one thing that we realized that it does kind of help with is actually employee acquisition and kind of like hiring
Mhm.
for our agency. So what we found is that people who listen to the podcast are in kind of this. We have a large segment of the audience that is that are like freelancers, kind of just doing this thing on their own, and they're not sure if that they want to pursue this on their own, if they want to work for another agency. So they might write in and say they want to work for us, and then like we might reach out to them, and we've reached out and interviewed people who listen to the podcast who wrote and said they wanted to work for us. And so it has been like a really unique kind of like talent acquisition medium. We still have yet to hire anybody from listening to the podcast, but it has given us really good candidates to consider.
No, that's great, especially if you're considering growth where you do need to hire more people on the team. What is the current number of people that do work for Evergrow?
Besides me and my partner, it's 3 people. So 5 people total, including my partner and myself.
Yeah. Okay. No. Awesome. And obviously, you have been in the marketing 15 years before you started your own agency. In your view, what would separate top tier agencies from the rest?
I would say it is probably there's a lot of there's a lot of reasons what separates like top tier agencies. I think one of the number one things is focusing on retention versus acquisition. And so a
What
lot
do
of
you mean by
agents
that? Sorry, I'm going to ask you to clarify.
yeah. So a lot of agencies will focus on client acquisition, like especially newer agencies. Like client acquisition is number one. So they get their email list, they'll blast their emails out, they do their cold calls, they do all this, and they really focus on that acquisition component, but they fail to focus on the retention part. Is once you get that client, how long are those clients sticking around? And what are you doing to make sure they stick around? And what it usually comes down to is the value and the quality of the service that's being delivered in conjunction with the price you're delivering that service for. So you can't sell a service of $5,000 a month if your clients can't expect to get $5,000 worth of value or a net positive ROI from that. So that's, I think, like pricing mismatch between what the market is willing to pay for agency owners is a big issue and why they fail and why they don't have the retention that they should have. But I see a lot of agencies say like, hey, I closed 4 clients at $2,000 per month this month. Now I'm a 6-figure agency. No, you made $8,000 this month. That has no indication that they're going to actually stick around. So retention is like I think probably the biggest differentiator between successful agencies and non-successful agencies.
Yeah, I think we briefly touched point in our previous chat in regards to upselling. And usually that's kind of where the retention rate also comes in and coming up with a good upselling offer. Because in regards to, for example, let's say you solve this one issue and with an upsell, you could potentially be solving also this issue and that issue. And I'm guessing that's also where the retention comes in.
So it can. I think upselling for us, the biggest reason why we want to upsell is because we don't want to grow our agency through acquisition alone. We want to grow it through more monthly recurring revenue from fewer clients. And the way we do that is by upselling. And now, obviously, you do run into a problem when you become solely focused on upselling that you're not actually solving problems. You're just trying to get and squeeze more money out of clients. And when you do that, let's say you upsell something to a client that doesn't necessarily need another service or isn't going to benefit them as much as the service they're already on, then you have a potential of losing that client entirely because the poor performance of the service that you upsold is now a reflection on all of your services in their mind. So a big focus of us going into next year is going to be upsells because the goal is to increase revenue per client. But in terms of like retention, when we start doing like incentivized things for team members like commission or things like that, I don't want to do commission for people who sell new clients. I only want to do commission for people who retain clients. And this will make people second guess or think about the upsells that they're going to offer a client. And they might think to themselves, if I upsell this client, are they actually going to get more results? And are they going to be able to perceive those results as positive? And if so, then I should do that. If the answer is no, and the only thing that I'm doing is adding more money to my pocket, then I don't want to do this because I'm not rewarded on upsells. I'm rewarded on retention. So that's what I really want to instill into our team.
Yeah, I think validation would come in great there, where you test it on a small segment of your current clients and maybe in a way like kind of not like upsell them, but maybe go through that validation process first. Would this be something that'd be actually useful to them? And you touched point on something very interesting. I think you're coming up with an AI inbound receptionist, potentially something that you're looking into implementing into your agency.
Yeah, so this is solving 2 things. It's actually solving one thing as it relates to another thing. So the one thing that we're solving for, going into Q1 of next year is increasing MRR per client. And some of the services that we have found real success in are services that require clients to answer their phones. So like a really good example is local service ads. So local service ads with Google is a pay per lead service. And if you do not answer the phone, if a lead calls it and you don't respond to like messages from local service ads, your cost per lead is going to increase. Google's going to increase your cost per lead. And ultimately, they might not just run your ads at all because you're not answering your phone. So why would they recommend you? There's a lot of other services that are shifting to this pay per lead model, or like a model where you have to answer calls from leads. So like two other platforms like this are Yelp and Angie. If any home service business providers are familiar with Angie, they have these models too. With Yelp, and particularly, we've noticed that some clients have really good success with it because they're answering their phones, and some clients don't. But if the client would answer their phone, then they would see good results with it. But because they're not answering their phone, they're seeing bad results, and we're having to discontinue the service because the results are bad.
Yeah,
So
and
now,
they blame the marketing agency. Would you agree
so
with that?
so yeah, now what we have is we have an issue with the upsell retention. We have the upsell that does really well, but there's a condition to it. And the condition is the retention based on them answering their phone. So now we have another problem to solve. And that problem is, how can we get our clients to answer their phones? So if we can build an AI inbound receptionist that we can then duplicate and scale to all of our clients, especially the ones that are going onto these services, that will make the upsell more sticky, and it will keep the retention on the increased MRR per client higher.
I absolutely love this idea. When are you thinking of launching it?
Whenever I have time. Between this and the podcast, I feel like I don't have time for anything. We're getting close to being done. The base knowledge base is completed, and so we just have to build some more of it out, like just a little bit more, and button some things up, and then it should be good to go. I've just got a couple more rounds of testing, and then what we're going to do is I'm going to duplicate it. Before I duplicate it, we have to then aggregate the information from the calls. So like the receptionist is good to go, and she sends a receipt of the call transaction and a summary to an email. But now I want to parse that email out, and I want to make it a little bit more robust and make it look more like a lead coming in as a text message or an email to our clients. That's step one. Step two would then be duplicating it to another client and stripping out the information that is relevant for that particular client and adding in only the information that's relevant for the new client, and seeing how quick that process is. And if the process is relatively quick and smooth, then we can set it up for free versus, charging a setup fee.
I see. And how good of a AI receptionist is it right now? Because will people know they're talking to an AI?
Yeah, they'll probably know. I mean, there's really no AI receptionist out there that like doesn't sound like an AI.
Not yet.
I've seen examples like Simple Talk AI has like an ad out there that sounds very real, but we also have to consider that like, that's the best of the best of the best example that they have. When you look at like the vast majority of like these AI callers, you can tell it's AI if you listen hard enough. Now it might trick grandma, and that's fine too, but the point of our receptionist isn't to trick anybody. It is to get people to schedule an appointment without having to wait for a call back.
Do you think because obviously I found there's two kind of segments of people that either they like AI and they utilize and maybe utilize it too much, and there's the other end of the spectrum, like, oh, they're going to take my job. I don't like AI. I hate AI. So how do you think like the clients are going to take it as AI picks up the phone?
Yeah, I think AI answering services are going to be the very bare minimum baseline for every business out there. And you don't have to use the AI. In fact, I think businesses that can rely on humans to answer the phones are going to outperform businesses that don't. However, businesses that don't have something answering the phones 24/7, including an AI, are not going to survive, because the absolute bare minimum is going to be having an AI answer the phone when a human cannot.
That's a great answer you've just given. But obviously, there's still some dinosaurs, and there's a couple of people I know as well. For example, if you're even booking a flight, and they're like, oh, it's all on my phone, and all this, and also like in regards to AI. Why is it like that? I just want to speak to a human, if they've got an issue. But unfortunately, we are coming to the age, like you just said, where that's going to be like the bare minimum,
Yeah. Humans will definitely always outperform AI when it comes to like talking to somebody. But we just had a conversation earlier in this episode about how difficult it is to find labor. So if you can find the labor and retain employees, then I think that's going to be the biggest differentiator in the future.
And how do you currently bring in clients? Is it through referral, networking, or content?
It's just through SEO. So I want to even say content because it's we don't have a lot of content on our website, but we have if you type in lawn care marketing company on Google, we're number one. I think usually like 9 times out of 10, we're number one for landscaping marketing company as well. And so that's where the majority of our leads come from. Now we still do other things, and when we first started, we did three main other things. And the first thing we did was we were on industry podcasts, so like landscaping business podcasts.
Nice.
We were in landscaping business magazines. So we wrote articles, we pitched articles to editors, and then they liked them and published them. And then the third thing we did was we would be engaged in like landscaping and lawn care business groups on Facebook. And what I wouldn't post, I wouldn't like solicit my services or anything like that. If somebody had a marketing question and they posted it in the group, I would just answer it as completely as possible. I would teach them how to do it on their own, and I would never tell them that I did this work as a service. And then what ended up happening was not the people who were asking the questions, but the people who were just reading in the group were the ones that ended up reaching out to me.
Wow, crazy. Are you still doing that right now?
Not the Facebook thing so much because it's just so time consuming.
Of course, yeah.
And Facebook clients aren't really my target market. So what I found was that agency clients that I ended up getting from social media were not good. They were not as
Really
good
didn't have a
as
budget as well.
yeah, they weren't. They were a little bit more naive about what it was to work with a marketing agency. But it was the ones that came from like Google that are like really good because like they're actually typing in like lawn care marketing company.
They know they
And
need the service, yeah.
yep, they absolutely like they know what they're doing. So like yeah, it's I say the same thing to my lawn care clients is that like lawn care Google leads are way better because they know what to expect. They know what they're getting themselves into. But when you get those clients on Facebook, especially landscaping, like nobody's perusing on Facebook and scrolling down and then sees a landscaping ad and goes, "Oh yeah, maybe I do need a $10,000 landscaping project." Like no, there's a whole like buyer's funnel to there. So the lead's not going to be as good as Google.
So in regards to growth, you mentioned that's a focus for you right now as well in our pre-chat. So where would you see Evergrow in like the next 6 to 12 months? That's kind of the dream outcome for you.
Um, what next 6 to 12 months?
Yeah, next 6 to 12 months.
Oh man, honestly, if I'm gonna be totally honest, probably like the exact same spot we are now, except 30% larger. So like every year we grow like on average about 30%. We have a 30% growth. But what I would like to see, and I know what we're making bigger pushes for in Q1 of next year is going to be, um, how many things? Three things. Well, upsells of marketing services. And then number two is going to be we're going to have some administrative services, not just marketing services. So administrative services are like the AI receptionist, where we want to start offering that to clients that are not marketing clients and just kind of selling that in general. And then the third thing is going to be putting more effort into like video content and media production, where like all these, like this camera that I have right now, this microphone, this sign, the lighting, and all this. This is all a culmination of things that have happened in the last 3-ish months that are going to go into the media production side of Evergrow Marketing.
Okay, no, awesome. And if a new agency founder is listening, what advice would you give on finding a niche and growing within it?
We've talked about this quite a bit on our podcast and
Yeah.
in our subreddit, and like we kind of like flip flop. So like when we first started, I was like, you have to get a niche. Like the agency space is super crowded. You've got to get a niche. You got to differentiate yourselves. I've seen arguments for not niching, and you can do whatever you want, honestly. I am personally a fan of niching. I think it's easier to stand out. I think it creates like you can become an expert, but you have to want to become an expert in the niche. You can't just say I'm an expert in roofing marketing and then not know anything about roofing. You have to learn roofing. Like I know a lot about landscaping and lawn care. And so I'm able to communicate that. And so that becomes a necessity. But in terms of finding a niche, I always tell people like make sure you do something you like because if you don't like it, it's not going to be fun. Or if it's not fun, then you're going to quit. And so, and you don't have to just like pick a niche right away and then just and just do that. Like you can explore some other business models. Maybe you like get into e-commerce. Maybe you do get into local service ads and you do like plumbing, or maybe you work with manufacturers and you find out like what usually ends up happening is you see success with one client in a particular industry, and that client then refers you to another client in that same industry. And then you can kind of like duplicate the success that you had for that first client into the second one, and so on and so forth. And that's kind of how you develop a niche. I would be cautious about just like going in and just being like, this is my niche. I'm gonna go do that. Like I'm gonna go do surf shops, like surfboard shops in the U.S. It's like, okay, well, you just restricted your entire market to just the coastline of the U.S. And now, where do you go from here? I guess you can get into like other outdoor sporting stuff, but like then at that point, then like why is your niche not just like retail, you know? And so, you know, and one example that we gave too is like, let's say you're really into video games, and then like you're at a dentist and your dental hygienist is talking to you about video games, and you're like, yeah, and I want to start a marketing agency. And he goes, well, we need a marketing agency for our dentist office, and then maybe you just do some work for him because he's your buddy, he's your video game buddy, you know. But then next thing you know, industry is your niche. You got into dentistry because you had a connection to video games. So like that's mostly like my advice. But I'll say this last thing on niching too. It's whatever you're selling, whatever service that you're gonna sell, it has to match the niche. A good example is like plumbing. Like plumbing, you're probably not going to want to be a Facebook ad specialist in plumbing, because nobody needs a plumber until they need a plumber. And when they need a plumber, they're not scrolling through Facebook hoping to get hit by a Facebook ad. They're going straight to Google and they're looking at plumbers. So whatever you're going to offer, it needs to make actual financial sense to the industry that you're going to be working with.
Yeah, there's a lot of factors you mentioned there, and all very valuable, I have to say. So it's like you have to niche down to something that you're connected to, something that you're potentially passionate about, but at the same time, don't niche yourself down too much to the point that you can't scale later on. And then at the same time, there still needs to be a marketing need.
Exactly.
That was great. So it sounds like you've had an incredible journey so far, Jake.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of felt more like mundane and kind of monotonous for me, because this is just like a daily thing. And like I was on another podcast like 2 days ago, like explaining some of this stuff, because from my perspective, it doesn't feel like I've accomplished a lot. Like this is just me working and learning new things all the time. And I'm not learning things because I want to learn things. I'm learning things because I have to grow the agency. And then when I retain that knowledge and then I give it back to, you know, you or your audience or the community, it makes it seem like I've done so much. And really, this is just like, it's just like a child growing up to an adult. Like there's so much they're not going to know when they hit adulthood, but once they do, they start learning like mortgages and rent and food and budgeting. And it's like the same thing is true for building a business. Is that the more you do it, the more you're going to learn. And you don't need anybody to tell you these things, because you just need to throw yourself into it, and then you're going to learn.
Yeah, slowly but surely, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So hypothetically, if you had a magic wand to fix one thing in a business right now that's holding you back or slowing you down, what would it be?
What would it be? It'd probably be to duplicate myself. If I could just magic wand, duplicate myself. Because I'm the biggest bottleneck right now.
I'm the biggest bottleneck.
Yeah, like I understand too that I'm going to be the last person that's going to be replaced in my business. Because nobody can sell a service or an idea better than the founder. So
I agree with you there.
My business partner, he works mostly in operations. We've already started replacing some of his tasks. In fact, his role now looks super different to when it was just him and I. My role still looks very much the same. So it's still very much like client management and client communication, sales, onboarding, things like that. That's not going to change for a long time, because we need to get to the point to where we can hire somebody that is both equally skilled in marketing and SEO, website development, but also a really good client communicator. And can manage those relationships as well. And those people are very hard to come by. Not saying that
it's duplicating yourself, so you're not going to find another you.
Well, and yeah, it's not saying like I'm some kind of like magical unicorn or something, but it's like I have a lot of skin in this game. I am the owner of this company. So yes, I am going to be passionate about the products that we deliver, the services that we deliver, and the client relationships that we maintain, and also my expertise in the services that we're delivering. It's going to be very hard to find somebody like that who is just naturally like that and isn't the owner of the company.
For sure. And obviously, in regards to like AI and automation, I'm sure you can use some tools out there to kind of not fully duplicate yourself, but maybe take some part of the role away from you. Is there anything out there that you're exploring? Because you're clearly very kind of open to the AI in regards to the receptionist you're currently going to be launching as well.
Yeah, probably not necessarily because like we don't do any outbound stuff. So like, there's no outbound calls or cold calling or emails or and there's nothing that AI can handle on that because we're not doing that. Everything is inbound. So like you can make an argument for saying, well, I could just create an inbound AI receptionist for us because all it has to do is just answer the questions because that's exactly what I do. But then you remove any resemblance of a relationship that we could possibly build with the clients and the productized service we already have is just going to be gone. So like somebody has to be here to start that relationship on those inbound calls. And then from there, like the only other thing that I can think of that could be good would be to have AI summarize results from monthly reporting and send those out to clients on top of the reporting. But I don't think AI is quite there yet because results are subjective. And just because metrics are down doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. It's probably just the seasonality. Or maybe like something else happened. I need to check the SEO documentation of what we changed last month to see if there was a reason why these numbers are down. Maybe the numbers are down are a good thing. So like we've had clients that said like, hey, I don't want more leads. I want fewer but better leads. So when we get the results in and the leads are down because of the changes we made the previous month, that's actually probably a good thing. But we have to like read through the story and figure out why that would be a good thing or why it's happening. And I don't think AI is there yet.
Okay. Jake, if people wanted to connect with you, where could they find you?
All over the place. You can Google me. You can just Google Jake Hundley and you'll find anywhere you want to connect with me. So I'm on LinkedIn, obviously Jake Hundley. A lot of people connect with me on there. Facebook under the same name. And then you can reach out to the podcast. Right now it's everbrowspodcast.com, but that's changing here relatively soon. Because it's just the agency growth podcast. And then, yeah, I think that's primarily main places.
No, it's been great having you on, Jake, and I absolutely loved your perspective.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you very much.